Hey there, everyone. I'm Marco Alcubé, the host of Expat Experts podcast. This video is extracted out of a longer interview with Cepee, an American who is currently living in Spain, and it's helping other women above 30 years old to move abroad.
And really, it was that trip that allowed me to see the world. And maybe for some people, the Netherlands isn't so different, but it was different enough for someone who had never left the US. And just that experience of seeing so many new things, experience a different culture. I just almost instantly had that feeling like, I want to live here. And really, it started with the Netherlands, right? I was like, oh, I want to live here. This could be so cool. And maybe people who started off as travelers and later moved abroad can remember, that first taste of something different where you think like, oh, I want to live here. And then you try another country and you're like, oh, wait, maybe I want to live here in Germany, or, oh no, maybe it's France. And so I had that for a few years as I traveled. But as I said, at the time, I was very young and I was still studying. So moving abroad wasn't an actual option for me. It was more like the seed was planted, like this would be cool to do one day, but there was no real plan for it.
Cool. Was it always like, you said that you were like also at some point considering like Middle East, but more from a studies after the master perspective. But when you were thinking like of the first moves to say, okay, this travel that you did at 17, and at that point of time, of course, like you were under 18, which is not that easy. You were studying, it's complex to move abroad. But when you finally decided to go, was always European countries at that point of time, or because... or it was really specifically some countries inside of Europe that was more like the idea that you had it in mind?
Yeah, I would say at first, I only had experience in Europe. I had gone to Colombia, but I was very young and didn't remember. But really those early, like late teens, early 20s, it was only Europe I had experience. So that was my focus. And it was once I landed, I had gone to the Netherlands, I had Germany, Switzerland. And once I went to Spain one year, that was it. I just went to Madrid to study Spanish for the summer because my Colombian mother never taught me Spanish. So I came to Spain to learn, and it was like love at first sight with Madrid. I just got there and I just felt like this is my place in the world. So really, Spain became the place that I needed to be very, very early on. And here I am like 20 some years later and I'm still here.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if it influenced the fact of like having a Colombian mother in the language, like if you learned Spanish before coming, and that was a decision to go for Spain. There is a lot of South American and Central American people who chooses to come to Spain because of the language. Makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
So in that case, you learned Spanish while being in Spain already, or?
Yeah. Of course, I grew up around Spanish, my mother speaking it, and, to her family members. And, we studied it in high school, but I was not speaking Spanish. And I actually think if my mom would have if I would have grown up speaking Spanish, I'm not sure that I would have come to Spain at that point in my life, because the decision to come to Spain was very much linked to doing, language course over the summer. And so maybe if I would have grown up speaking Spanish, maybe I wouldn't have ended up in Spain. Maybe I would have gone to France instead, I don't know, to learn French, and maybe I'd be in France or who knows where. So as much as I'm like disappointed that my mother never taught me Spanish and I had to learn it as an adult, I'm kind of grateful because it led me to where I am.
Nice. Well, who knows where you had been if you would be speaking Spanish from Colombian Spanish?
Yeah, who knows?
What captivated you from Madrid? What was the thing that triggered you, like, because you said, you traveled to other places before, and then when you went to study Spanish there, something did this click in Madrid? What was it?
Yeah. Oof. I think, Madrid just has a certain energy and vibrance to it. And I come from a big city, Houston, but it's very much a car city. It's a very, different way of living. To when I went to go study in Madrid, I was staying in the city center and I could walk everywhere, and there was so much energy and life in the streets at all hours of the day, right? It was summer, so it was hot, people are outside. I got to experience the nightlife as a 21-year-old. Of course, that's incredible to be able to go out and be out till 6, 7 in the morning and meeting all these international people. So it was just such a liberating experience. Also, as I mentioned, coming from a background where I had a very strict father and there were a lot of rules growing up, a lot of things I couldn't do. Also, that summer in Madrid really was this taste of freedom I had never had. And I will say also those other trips I had done before to, the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, I was always going to visit someone and stay with someone, a friend and their family. Spain was the first time I went totally on my own and didn't know anybody where I was going. And so, I think the language helped too, even though I wasn't a Spanish speaker, there was a lot of familiarity with the language. And the culture. Spain is a very warm culture. I would say not as warm as Latin America, but still warmer than some of the countries I had been to. And so I just felt very much at home there. So there was this excitement. There was this feeling of I belong here in a way. And there was also I could really envision my life there too. I just really enjoyed the lifestyle. So it captivated me early on. And I still have that feeling. Well, we can talk about that later as well, but I don't live in Madrid anymore, but every time I go, I was just there 2 weeks ago and I still get this excitement, butterflies in my stomach. And I love that city and love being there.
Nice. That's actually one of the other questions that I was going to ask you, because I know that you're not in Madrid anymore, that you're living right now in Malaga. When this change happened, why? I mean, what made you change inside of the same country to another city?
Right. Yeah. So I had been living in Madrid for 5 years. So this was 2015 to 2020, loving it, having a great life. We all know what happened in 2020. We had pandemic, and Spain had some very, very harsh lockdowns. I think I just needed a change, of being in Madrid during that time and kind of being locked into my shoebox apartment. I just was craving change and space, a bit more maybe nature and freedom. And at the time I had some friends in Madrid who were moving to the coast of Spain. And it just kind of clicked in my head. I never wanted to leave Madrid. I love Madrid. Thought I would, live and die there. So I never thought of leaving Madrid, but just seeing friends moving to the coast and having that feeling of, I need a little bit of a change. I thought, why not go to Malaga temporarily? I'll go for 6 months. I'll go for the winter. And then I'll come back to Madrid in the summer of 2021 when this COVID thing is over and things open up and life is all normal again. So that was my idea. It was just temporary change, never intended to make a life in Malaga and go back. But that didn't happen. 3.5 years later, I'm still in Malaga and I never went back to Madrid.
What kept you in Andalusia?
Yes.
What
kept me here? So I love Andalusia. Actually, I spent a year in Cordoba in 2006. That's when I taught English. And I love Andalusia, always have. Never envisioned living here, but always love to visit. And you know what? When I moved to Malaga when I said in 2020, moved here temporarily. So I never intended to stay in Malaga, but 2 weeks after moving here is when I met my now partner. So, came here, met somebody, and that's why I have never left. He also wasn't living here at the time. He's from here, but he was living in the US actually, which is pretty funny, and visiting his family during COVID. And we met, and neither of us ever, right? I never went back to Madrid. He never went back to the US, and we decided to stay in Malaga. But I'm always trying to convince him to move to Madrid, or trying to. So we'll see. Maybe one day I'll get my wish and we'll go back. We'll see.
Have you ever been considering going back to US at some point also? Did it ever cross your mind during these years?
I never wanted to, but there was a point early on in my move in 2015, maybe a year or two after being in Spain,
If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.